Everyone who's ever seen a superhero movie, read a comic, or played Ultimate Alliance has had a favorite superhero growing up.
You can say that again, bub.
For me, it's a toss-up between Batman and this guy.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
In this video, I'm gonna review / give commentary on every live-action Spider-Man movie, starting with Spider-Man 1. This is a pre-MCU production, so we still open the movie with the original Marvel logo. And I'm getting a little nostalgic.
Who am I? You sure you want to know?
Yes, why else would we be watching the movie? I'm pretty sure everyone and their mothers have seen this movie, and in recent times, this movie's been called corny.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Even though this movie is pretty corny and has some interesting editing choices.
It's Spider-Man!
It's not like this movie has constant jokes throughout the movie. I feel like the tone is pretty consistent, and when the movie needs to be serious, it's serious.
Just give me a chance! What about my uncle? Did you give him a chance?
Within the first 10 minutes, we know Peter has a friend who hates his dad.
Peter, may I introduce my father, Norman Osborn?
He gets bit by a radioactive spider, and Peter likes this girl, Mary Jane. We got all this shit going on, and yet the movie doesn't feel rushed at all.
I don't feel well. I'm gonna go to sleep.
You won't have a bite?
No, thanks.
Did you get some pictures, Peter?
I said no.
Now, Peter already got bit, so technically he's Spider-Man, but he hasn't gotten the speech yet.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Now he's Spider-Man. The overall premise of this movie is a pretty generic origin story by today's standards, but it doesn't matter because the Green Goblin in this movie steals the show.
You killed them. We killed them.
We?
William Dafoe's Green Goblin is probably one of the most iconic villains of all time. Yup, ugly costume and all. Of course, there's many other memorable performances in this movie.
Hey, Freak Show! You're going nowhere!
Who is Spider-Man? He's a criminal, that's who he is.
But I'm gonna talk about many other movies in this video, so I'll review this one quickly and give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Solid. Spider-Man 2 is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. The plot of this movie has so many layers to it. Now that the Green Goblin is gone, Harry wants revenge and wants to kill Spider-Man. But gasp, Spider-Man is really Peter Parker.
Crisscross.
Not only is this a great superhero movie, but overall as a film, this movie is top tier. This movie takes all of the good qualities of the last movie and leaves some of the cornball stuff behind.
Hey, kiddo, let mom and dad talk for a minute, will ya?
Every plotline in this movie is great. It showcases the real understanding of what makes Spider-Man so iconic.
Spider-Man? Where? Where?
Yeah, he's powerful and he's funny, but more than anything, he struggles and has to overcome his own self-doubt. It doesn't help that he's really dealing with a lot of shit in this movie. Harry is annoying, Aunt May is disappointed, I guess. My guy can't even deliver his pizzas on time.
I'm not paying for those.
So his life sucks. But most of all, MJ is about to get married. MJ and Peter could be dating, but unfortunately, Peter doesn't want to tell Mary Jane that he's Spider-Man because he doesn't want to put her in danger. And it's crazy because literally she gets captured in like every movie anyway. Hell, even Aunt May gets captured twice. Geez, Spidey, might need a new strategy.
I got a few. Yeah.
On top of all that, Spidey's currently losing his powers right now. Enter in Doc Ock. Now obviously Green Goblin was a great villain, and if you want to argue that he's the best on-screen Spider-Man villain of all time, I wouldn't argue with you. But for my personal taste, Doc Ock is the GOAT. The plot for Doc Ock is so tragic in this movie.
Tragic!
A story of a scientist striving for greatness, but ultimately failing due to his own ignorance. My first unpopular opinion for this video, might have another one later on, will be that Aunt May in these movies, not my favorite.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
I don't think the actress who's playing Aunt May is doing a bad job, obviously, and I definitely feel the emotional scenes between her and Peter, but I don't know, sometimes she just comes off as a know-it-all.
You loved him, and he loved you.
Thank you.
Because Peter is dealing with his current web block, he has to have this moment of reflection in which he has to decide between being Spider-Man or just being some random guy. And at first,
Sleeping on the job.
but then he realizes he didn't choose to be Spider-Man. He has to be. And I just love that message, to be honest. So yeah, this is pretty much the perfect Spider-Man movie. So I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
I'm honestly, I'm shocked.
this movie is okay. There are people who legitimately hate this movie, and even I didn't love it the first time I saw it. But if you look at the movie as a whole, it really isn't that bad. It's just really messy. In the previous films of this trilogy, Sam Raimi had a pretty quick pace to his movies, but it didn't affect the overall story as a whole. The first movie came out in 2002, and there weren't many superhero movies out at that point. And other than X-Men and Blade, there weren't many good ones out there.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
So that movie had to get through hella shit hella fast. The second movie had to address what happened at the end of the first movie, along with some of the stuff that Peter was dealing with. So once again, pacing made sense. However, this movie has a huge elephant to address with Harry and Peter. Harry finally found out that Spider-Man was his best friend Peter. And even though Peter could have probably reassured him in that moment to say, you know, your dad tried to kill me, instead he says,
There are bigger things happening here.
and that's the last time they interacted, so it's safe to say things are unfinished. So great, we've got a solid story here. Headed into this movie, we got Harry versus Peter, the new Green Goblin, versus Spider-Man. And this black, liquid, gooey thingy called a symbiote comes to Earth and is attracted to Peter because he's angry.
He's seething with rage.
This symbiote is making Peter feel strong, angrier, and more confident. Oh shit, we got Sandman to add into this movie for no reason. And if that wasn't enough, we have Eric Foreman's Venom.
Interested?
Topher Grace is doing the best he can with his dialogue, but I don't even think Christian Bale could pull this off.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
No, don't like that.
There's way too much going on in this movie to care about everybody who's in it. They even got fucking Gwen Stacy in this movie. Now everyone in New York loves him, so he's kind of like feeling himself a little bit, and he kisses someone else right in front of MJ.
That guy is fucking cheating. He's cheating!
On top of the already crammed mess of a movie that this is, we also got Harry hitting his head and getting amnesia, and he also forgets all of the previous events that happened in the other movies in this trilogy.
Well, isn't that just fucking convenient for you?
Sandman being retconned into Uncle Ben's killer is pointless, and Venom in general just sucks.
He sucks. Like, when I say suck, he sucks.
Luckily though, this movie is pretty consistent in tone with the other movies in this trilogy, and so is the acting. Overall, I'd give this movie a 6 out of 10.
Good riddance.
Alright, so I know I sped through the Raimi trilogy, but come on, how many times have we heard people talking about those movies? A lot. But now I'm transitioning to the Garfield movies.
Garfield?
And I have many things to say about those movies. I feel like a lot of people have gotten shit a little twisted. Now, I know Andrew Garfield is a great actor and probably looks the most like Spider-Man, but that doesn't mean anything. When talking about a movie, I usually focus on, you know, the movie. And this movie is not very good. But what about that scene when he saves the kid on the bridge? Yeah, like, that was a great scene, but the problem is most of this movie is not that. The other Spider-Man movies get right to the point, but in this movie we see Peter as a kid, high school still sucks, and he finds a bag with his parents' stuff in it. Oh shit, sorry, this movie's boring as hell. Also, I almost feel like a bad person for saying the old Aunt May is kind of annoying, because this version of Uncle Ben and Aunt May are just there. Even the way Peter becomes Spider-Man is boring in this movie. He accidentally walks into this chamber that he has no business being in, is surrounded by spiders, and is surprised when the spiders start falling on him.
I'm so damn confused.
The scene on the train when he starts feeling the effects of being Spider-Man is pretty cool though.
Get your hand off her.
I'm trying.
Can he not see his hand is wide open? Once Peter gets his powers in this movie, he turns into a bully.
Why did you take it from me? Go ahead, take it.
I know this is unrelated, but this scene kind of reminds me of this one.
Heads up! Give me my ball back, bitch.
Of course, we know he doesn't become Spider-Man without Uncle Ben dying.
You had a moral obligation to do those things. Not choice, responsibility.
Yeah, sure, something like that. Yeah, this movie is pretty bland, like some unseasoned chicken. But even I have to admit, the love displayed between Gwen and Peter is really good.
So, you want to, I don't know. I don't know, we could,
What's the matter, cat? Got your tongue?
Even though I do enjoy their relationship in this movie, we get a lot of dialogue like this.
Okay. It's I wish I could just... I can't.
You could do so.
Dr. Connors, aka the Lizard, is pretty forgettable as a villain. Probably because his big plan is to turn everyone in New York into giant lizards. Along with the boring plot, the biggest sin of the movie is that there is no J. Jonah Jameson. It's probably not fair to not like a movie because they don't have something another movie did, but J. Jonah Jameson adds to the misery Spider-Man has. He has to save all these shitty New Yorkers, his uncle always dies, and all he wants to do is have a nice day with MJ. Or Gwen in this case. And this dickhead is always throwing shade at him. The closest thing that we get to him in this movie is Gwen's police dad.
I stand for law and order, son. That's what I stand for, okay? I wear a badge.
But nah, he's not on that level. Spider-Man beats the Lizard in this movie, and then Gwen's dad dies. Before he does though, he asks Peter to stay far away from Gwen to keep her safe.
Promise me that.
No, I don't think I will.
Gwen and Peter are still dating. Hopefully nothing happens in the next movie. Amazing Spider-Man gets a 5.5 out of 10, mostly because it's boring.
This movie was a clusterfuck, man.
It's really hard to talk about why this movie doesn't make sense, because as you watch it, you'll realize it just doesn't make any sense.
Really bad, and it made you very sad.
So hear me out. I don't hate this movie.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I used to really dislike this movie, but I don't know. It has some things I really like. For one, this is the best Spider-Man costume of all time. And in this movie, Spider-Man actually seems like Spider-Man.
Man, you can call me Webhead, you can call me Amazing, just don't call me late for dinner, you get it?
His comedic timing is good, and he's not all mopey like the previous Spideys.
What are you talking about?
Also, I know I kind of pooped all over the last movie, but the web swinging in both these movies are top notch. And I just had to give him some credit for that.
Hey, watch out, I'm swinging here!
So yeah, the Rhino kind of sucks in this movie, but who cares? Really though, people don't give a shit about Rhino. The real reason a lot of people hate this movie is the portrayal of Electro, played by Jamie Foxx. Personally, I love Jamie Foxx, and I think he's a great actor.
I know who he is, bitch.
But yeah, he kind of sucks in this movie. And it's not his fault. His dialogue is horrible.
It's my birthday. Now it's time for me to light my candles.
Wow, that sucked.
And trust me, he's not the only one in this movie who sucks, because Dane DeHaan's Harry makes no sense. They introduced this guy like him and Peter have been friends since they were like 5.
No way.
Then they make the overall plot behind him wanting to hurt Spider-Man enough that he killed his girlfriend was because Peter didn't want to save him. He's like, you could have saved me.
Look at me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay.
Look at me.
Then I think about a scene like this where Electro first comes into the city, plus the suit's really cool, guys. And I really want to like this movie. Unfortunately, I can't because it's not that good. But the ending...
Gwen!
If this ending was in pretty much any other movie, it'd be talked about for a long time. I know people talk about it, but I feel like it's kind of just like, oh yeah, Gwen died. We love Peter. And then we're just gonna pretend the movie ended here. If I were to rate this movie honestly, I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 10. But I really like the costume, and I also think this movie is pretty entertaining. So I'd give it a 5 out of 10.
Underoos!
This movie is underrated. I swear, this is a fantastic Spider-Man movie. We're gonna review this movie differently and start out with the villain of this movie, Vulture. He has a grind to pick with the Avengers, he's trying to sell illegal shit to support his family. Oh, and his daughter's dating Spider-Man. Wait, what? It's not even the Vulture who starts the fight. Vulture's just slinging alien tech, and Spider-Man comes in being nosy as fuck and messing with his business plans. Okay, so let's talk about Spidey. This is Spider-Man. No disrespect to Tobey or Andrew, but this looks like Spider-Man. And another thing I really like about this movie is Spider-Man is actually a teenager. It adds a cool dynamic that the other Spider-Man movies lacked. This movie allows us to see Peter around his friends and going through high school stuff like going to parties and getting bullied. Iron Man's also in this movie, and that's always nice. People say that he stole the show in this movie, and I'm like, dude's only on screen for like 20 minutes. But yeah, people don't like the new Spidey costume.
Hater.
I actually really like it just because of the eyes.
Oh, hey guys.
But the gadgets, they do get a little annoying. Everyone loves Ned, and I do too. How could you not? So before I was talking about the Vulture's daughter, and that's Liz. She's kind of just here in this movie, but that scene when Peter shows up to her door and he finds out who her dad is.
Oh no!
Then that whole scene in the car driving to prom is mad intense.
It was a great party. Really great, yeah.
You were there for like 2 seconds.
How about this? Shut your mouth.
Another thing I really enjoyed about this movie was how Peter actually became Spider-Man in this movie. We've never seen Peter's Uncle Ben in the MCU, so Peter's probably never had the
"with great power comes great responsibility"
speech. And I also don't think he became Spider-Man during his scene with Tony.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it, okay?
It was during that moment, right after he fought Vulture, and he was covered under all the building wreckage. No matter what happens in any situation, Spider-Man is gonna keep fighting.
That's how winning is done.
Also, his last fight with the Vulture is also amazing! He's literally fighting with his crappy little costume and kicking Vulture's ass. This movie gets a 9 out of 10.
What the?
The first time I saw this movie in theaters, I really didn't like it at all. And I haven't seen it since, even though I have it on Blu-ray. So have my feelings changed?
2 hours later.
Nah, not really. But because I like spreading positivity, I'll say what I did like first. So I really am a fan of the whole Peter and MJ relationship.
Aw, that's sweet.
In real life, Zendaya and Peter are dating, so obviously it helps, but I also like how their relationship is different from every other past Spider-Man relationship we've seen so far.
What? No, of course I'm not a male escort.
So then you're Spider-Man.
No, I'm not Spider-Man at all.
You are.
I also love Aunt May and Peter's relationship in all of these movies. People shit on Marissa Tomei's Aunt May literally for no reason. The main complaint I hear about her is that she's too young. What? That's such a weird criticism to me. This is the best Aunt May in any of these films. She's there for Peter when he's struggling with girls. She actually gives Peter some real advice instead of just being wise all the time. And she knows Peter is Spider-Man, so that adds another interesting dynamic to their relationship. What else? Another thing I kinda liked, I guess, was seeing Nick Fury again. We haven't really seen much from Nick Fury in the MCU recently. The last time he really made an impact in the movie was like Age of Ultron. I know he was in Captain Marvel, but technically that happened in the past, so it doesn't count. But yeah, it was great seeing him again in a movie, even though it's not really him. Guess we gotta wait longer before that makes any sense. Alright, so let's talk about the stuff I don't like. The whole trip is cool, but I feel like it takes up a lot of time in this movie. It almost feels like filler, and I could do without that. Another thing I could do without is the constant Iron Man talk. I have no problem with Iron Man being essential to Peter's story because, you know, it's the MCU, it works, it makes sense. But the fact that all of these people have beef with Iron Man and Spidey's just like in the way kind of annoys me a bit. In Homecoming, the Vulture and Peter have an actual connection to each other, but Mysterio is just jealous. Also, the blip is ultra convenient in this movie. You want to say Ned, MJ, Peter, and Aunt May got blipped? Okay. But there are so many people who got blipped, and it's almost treated as an afterthought in this movie. Or a gag. Even still, I do really like Mysterio. Plus, it doesn't hurt that Jake Gyllenhaal is casted as Mysterio. He is giving a highly underrated performance in this movie. His character feels unique in the MCU. He's kind of monotone, but almost everything he says sounds fake as hell.
I trust you.
I'm still not following. How many lemonades have you had?
So in this movie, before Iron Man died, he gave Peter these crazy high-tech glasses, and then Peter gives them away to Mysterio.
So long, dumbass!
Right after that, Mysterio reveals he's been evil the whole time. If you know who Mysterio is, this wasn't really much of a shock, but I really do enjoy this scene.
See, that wasn't so hard.
I like this scene a lot, and not even just because of Mysterio, but because of that random science guy from the first Iron Man movie.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave!
With a bunch of scraps! It's that type of continuity that I love to see in the MCU. But still, these dudes got beef with Iron Man, not Spider-Man. I said my views haven't really changed much, and trust me, they haven't. But looking back on this movie, I can honestly say it's not as boring as I remembered. So I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Spider-Man's name is Peter Parker. What the?
Anyone who says this movie is just fan service is wrong.
You're a snob.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. You think it's cool to hate things. And it's not. It's boring.
Yeah, tell him, Wanda. Not including Into the Spider-Verse, which is obviously perfect, this could possibly be the best Spider-Man movie of all time. But wait, why is Sandman just in his sand form the whole movie?
I need a second.
Electro was blue before. Why does he look like this?
Just a second.
And Doc Ock wouldn't know that Norman Osborn was the Green Goblin, right? So why does he know that in this movie?
I need a second, okay? Why can't anybody give me a goddamn second?
So at the end of Far From Home, everyone found out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So now everything in Peter's life is in shambles. At this point, people no longer see your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Instead, they see a criminal who killed everyone's favorite hero, Mysterio. Oh, only if they knew. So Peter goes to his old pal, Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. I'm Spider-Man then.
He asks Strange to do a spell that makes everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. At first, the spell is good, but Peter keeps talking. Peter messes everything up, and now everyone who knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man is coming for his ass. Now this movie could have easily been a huge mess with 2 Spider-Mans, 5 villains, and a love interest, and Ned. But luckily everyone in this movie gets their moments to shine.
So what? Y'all just gonna stand here and act like I ain't butt-ass naked?
Well, kinda. Some of the villains in this movie kinda get pushed to the side a bit. Speaking of villains, we got William Dafoe's Green Goblin in this movie. This might sound weird to say, but I actually think that his performance in this movie was better than his performance in the first Spider-Man movie.
Norman? Norman's on sabbatical.
His fight scenes with Holland Spider-Man were brutal in this movie. That fight in the apartment building is one of the best fights in the whole MCU. While we're talking about villains, yes, the Lizard and Sandman were kinda just there, but no one really cared about him anyway. Out of all the villains, Doc Ock is arguably doing the best acting-wise.
I'd almost forgotten.
Let's talk about Electro. So I usually hear people questioning Electro's suit change, but my question is his attitude change. In the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Electro is a huge nerd.
Can we shut down power on sector 32, please?
But in this movie, he's cool as hell.
How you like the new?
Aunt May dies, and it was really sad, even though she probably would have been destroyed right here. But because this movie had so much crazy stuff going on, I feel like her death doesn't really get talked about enough. So R.I.P. Aunt May. And of course, we get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in this movie. And they aren't just cameos.
Shut up and take my money.
Tobey and Andrew are in this movie for like 30 minutes, and they actually get great moments for themselves.
Well, it's good to see you, dear boy.
It's good to see you.
Guys, I feel spoiled watching No Way Home. All of my expectations for this movie were met and exceeded. So for that, I'd give this movie a 9.5 out of 10, because even though it was really good, it wasn't better than Spider-Man 2. Hey, person watching, these are stupid reviews. Literally. They're mostly just fun little commentaries I like to do. But if you enjoyed this video, then why not like this video? And also leave a comment telling me how wrong my ratings are.
Who am I? I'm Spider-Man.
Don't be shy. Subscribe to that guy.